Hello and welcome. My name is Immanuel Geesing and I will share with you the power of storytelling. Because we have been telling each other stories for ages and ages. We have been passing stories on to the next generations. We've been using stories to educate our children. And especially funny stories. For instance, the stories about Mullah Nasruddin have been used for centuries as a funny story that also teaches you something. And I don't think I can get away with discussing this topic of storytelling without actually telling a story, so here it goes. I'll tell you a Nasruddin story. So the Mullah Nasruddin, one night he was crawling around on the town square under the light of a lantern. So he was very visible and everyone could see him. So all the villagers came out of their houses and said, "What's the mullah doing? Crawling around on 4 legs like a baby. Is he drunk?" No. The mullah, he was looking for the keys to his house. And of course, the villagers, nice as they were, they started looking for the keys. And after an hour, they still hadn't found the keys. So one of them went to Mullah and said, "Mullah, are you sure you lost your keys here?" And he said, "No, I lost them over there in the dark, but it's much easier searching for them here in the light." So, I think to this story, what's the moral of the story? I think we can all pretty much agree that it's something along the lines of, do not take the easy path, but take the right path. And we all intuitively feel and get this meaning. And it's actually a pretty deep lesson. So why? Why make it silly? Why hide it inside a joke? Well, there's actually some good reasons for this. And one of them is what I said, that these stories, they have been passed on for centuries. And you know how this goes, as they're told and retold again, every time something changes. Here in the picture, there are cars on the town square. Well, the mullah originally, he lived in 1500 or something. But one thing never changes, and that is the joke. Because if you change the joke, it's not funny anymore. You probably know these moments when you try to tell something you experienced and you can't quite get the thing right and nobody laughs and you just like, you actually hope everyone forgets about it. But if the joke is good, then the story is retold. And this brings me to the second point. Because who of you knows Sartre? Let's see a show of hands. You've heard of him? And who has heard of Hegel? Also, a bit few people, right? And this man, he was a genius. But he said, people have to put in some effort to understand what I'm really talking about. He didn't want to cater to the lazy. So he wrote very difficult subjects. And he was a newspaper editor, dealing purely in information. However, Sartre, he was a playwright. And he wrote these very symbolic stories and plays to convey his philosophy. And people, they were reading his stories like crazy. At his funeral, 50,000 people attended. So, even though his philosophy was maybe a little bit less good, he reached so many people, and his message, he had this tool to reach all of them and interest them and engage them. So, I could just go to someone and say, "Hey, you should not take the easy path. It's useless if it doesn't get any results." And then they will be like, "Wait a minute, who are you to tell me this? Who are you? What are your credentials? Do you have your facts straight?" But if you let them experience this through a story, then they will actually come to this realization themselves and they will convince themselves. People are much more open to learning in this way. So, actually, by telling stories, your message can stand the test of time you can reach many more people. And also, they will be more open to what you're saying. And I believe that we're all here with our very own, very valuable message. And as we go through life, our story unfolds. So go out there. Tell your story. Live your story. Be your story. Be a legend. Thank you very much.